Hello and welcome to another tutorial from CodingDemos. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can use one of the material design components, and it's called slider. So sliders, it says that here, allows users to make selections from a range of values. So you can see slider looks something similar to seekbar, but this has more customizations they can do, and you can include them in the app, which makes it look really cool. And by the end of the tutorial you would have an app that looks like this. So you can see here I have two sliders. The reason I showed you two is just to show you the differences between certain features that one slider has and the other one doesn't have. So just to give you guys an idea of how they both look like. And the first one is this slider. I did some customizations to it in terms of the color of the slider, and then you can see there's a dots here that appear on the slider, and as I click on these on the controller of the slider, I can move right and left, and you can see it jumps 5 points each time I move throughout the slider. That's one. And then we have the other slider that has two selections or two controllers, and when I click on that, then I can uh, increase or decrease, and you can see the value is taking effect as well, and I can do that with the other controller as well. So before we deep dive into the implementation, just make sure that you subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button and click on the notification bell to be notified every time I post a new tutorial. So without further ado, let's get started. First thing that I need to start with you is open up Windows Studio. Definitely that's the first step. And the second step would be, because material design component is a library, so you need to include the dependency for that in the Build.Gradle module app. So before we do that, if we scroll down into this page, and don't worry, I'll put up the link of this page inside the description of this video, so you guys can refer to it later on. So here in the content section, if we scroll a bit here, and it says before you can use the material sliders, you need to add the dependency. So just click on the get started, and I have it open right here. This is the get started page. Oops, this is the get started page. Okay, they look similar. All right. So this is the first step that you need to do. Make sure that you have the Google included in the all projects under the repositories, and make sure you include this dependency inside the Build.Gradle module app. So open up Android Studio and go to the Build.Gradle module app. I have added the where is it? So it should be in the Build.Gradle. I have added the Google here. That's the first step based on the documentation. So add Google repository, Maven repository, should include that here. And then you include this line inside the Build.Gradle module app, and that's right here. So the current version that I'm using is 1.2.1, and click on, once you do that, then you'll see the sync button that appear on the top right. Just click on the sync so you can sync the library with the project so they can use it later. And once this thing is complete, the second step that you need to do is, before you even add the slider view, is you need to do a slight change in the styles of your project. So to open up the styles file, go to the app, go to the resource folder, and then click on the values to open up the values folder, and then choose style. Double click on that. What you need to do here is, you can see the parent theme. Make sure that you use material component, because if you don't use that and you include the slider view, then when you run the app will crash, and I'll show you the error of the crash that will later appear on the screen. So make sure you change the parent theme of your project to material components, so that the slider will work in your project. So once you do that, just close the sliders, so close the styles, and close the modules, close the Build.Gradle. We don't need that anymore. So we'll start with the activity_main. That's where we're going to include the sliders. So if we go back to the documentation here, the first page, you can see that here we have two types of sliders, and if you scroll down a bit, they've mentioned that so they have two types. They have the continuous slider and they have the discrete slider. So we'll start first with the continuous slider. What you can do here is just gonna copy this, right? But don't worry, I'll walk you through that each line step by step. Okay, so here inside the activity underscore main, I'm just gonna paste that, and I'm just gonna remove this because we don't need the content description. Now you can see Android is giving us this warning or this error because we haven't yet added any constraint. So let's do it now. We want this to be in the center of the screen, so just add a constraint to the bottom, to the top, to the left, and to the right. Alright, and we don't see that error anymore. Alright, so what do we have right here? Okay, the first thing is the ID. That's pretty simple. The layout width and height. We know this stuff already. Okay, here is what's new. We have the Android value. So Android value, it's initialized to 20, which means that when you run the app, then you will be able to see the selection is positioned at the value of 20. And before we run the app, let me explain to you the value from and value to. Value from is you're telling the slider that the slider will start from this point, and value to means the slider will end at this point. So the value will start at this position, the value from is the beginning point, value to is the end point. And another thing that I want to highlight to you is if you added the slider but you didn't add the value from and value to, the app will crash with the error that I'm gonna put it in on the screen here. So make sure that you put the value from and value to. You need to define those before you run the app. So we have this simple slider. Let's run the app and let me show you how that looks like. Alright, so the app is built and you can see the slider here. So when you click on this on the control here, okay, you can see the slider is moving, and you can see the value on top. It's changing as we scroll through the slider, and the first point is 0. But just know the point was set right here, which is roughly around 20, to be exact, at 20, as following the value that you set here. So that's what it means. The value is the initial value that you set when you run the app, and that is where the point will be set on for the slider. This is the simplest version of the slider. The next thing that I want to show you is the first customization that you can do to the slider is, let's say you don't want to change the slider value. What I mean is you want to skip those values that you can see on top here, instead of going like I think you can say like one point at a time. You can use it to, for example, skip 5 steps or take 5 steps at a time. To do that, what you can do here is inside the slider you would do app, and that would be that would be Android step size. That's the one. And then here you initialize that with the value that you want to you want the slider to jump. So for example, by default it jumps 1 point at a time, but if you initialize this to step size and you give it the value that you want, for this example we're setting 5, so the moment I change, you will see the value will, for example, now we have 551.62, it will go to 55, and then from 55 it will go to 60, 65, and so on. That's one thing. Another thing that you can customize is, you can see here that we have a floating point, right? 44 point something, 45 point something. So let's say you don't want the floating point, you want an integer value. So to do that, just you can see the value here. Just remove that and remove the value from as well, and then it's simple as that. Click on the run, and let me show you in the emulator. Alright, build is complete. So you can see there's a slight difference here between this version and the previous version that I showed you. So when I move the slider, now it's 20 because we've set the value to 20. Now the moment I move to the right, it's jumped to 25 because we have set the step size as equal to 5. And another thing that I want to point out to you is right now we don't see the floating value anymore. Why? Because we've initialized the value from and value to as an integer, meaning there's no point like we had initially. So if I change, you can see it jumps 5 points at a time. Another thing that I want to highlight to you is you can see that on the slider track that we have these tiny points. So these tiny points actually represents the point that you want to jump those step sizes. So when you initialize the step sizes, that's where you have these points here. That's the another customization. Another thing you can do here is you can, for example, let's say you don't want this we call this the label, we call this as tooltip. So let's say you don't want this tooltip to appear on top of the slider. A simple way to hide that would be called app and then label behavior, and you have these three options. You have gone, which means you don't want that anymore, or floating, and that is the default value, and that's what you see right now in the emulator. And you have another one that says within bounds. And to be frank, I haven't seen any difference between the two, but for this I'll just show you the thing when we use gone. So if we use gone, then just click run the app. So when you now when I select the controller for the slider, as I move left and right, you don't see the tooltip anymore because we have changed the status from showing to gone as we did right here in the label behavior. So let's remove that. We need the tooltip to appear as we scroll through left and right. Okay, another thing that I want to highlight to you is in terms of the customization is the colors. So let's say you want to change the color of these step sizes. You want them something different, different colors. So to do that, you will do app and then color. So the moment you tap color, then you have these I think around 5 or 6 it's around 8 if I'm mistaken, 8 types of customizations that you can apply in terms of color customizations that you can apply on the slider. The first one we'll start with is the hello color. So hello color will initialize that as for this demonstration. I'm just going to use the default colors that we have for the app. So what is hello color? If we go back to the emulator, when I click on the slider controller, you can see there is a colored circle that surrounds the controller. That is the hello color. So you can actually change that to a different color, and that is the hello color here. Another thing that I want to highlight to you is the in terms of customization is you can change the thumb color. So what is the thumb color? Thumb color is the actual circle. So we'll do it as we have these two colors. So I'm just going to go with the blue. So this is the thumb color. And before I run the app, let me just walk you through the documentation here, just to show you the different things that you can customize. So we have here, this is basically an overview idea of what the names for this you can see components. So first one is, number one is the track. So the track is the one that this slider runs on, and then number two is the thumb, and that's exactly what we're trying to customize here in terms of the color. So thumb color is the actual circle, and then the value label, that is the one that we've just try to modify it in terms of showing it or removing completely. And then we have the tick mark. Tick mark is these small dots that appear when you initialize the slider with the step size. So let's do that as well. Let's change the color for that. So it's app. You just type color, and then we'll have the tick. We have the track color. Let's change the track color to, let's say, color accent, and and let's change the tick color. So the color and the tick color, we'll change that to, let's say, blue. What is the default color right now? I think it's blue. Okay, let's make it green. I mean, like following the accent color, because I need a color that you can actually see the difference. And okay, I think it should be all right. Let's give this a run. All right, so now you see some color changes. The first one is the hello. So if you click on the slider controller, so you can see the color, the surround the controller have changed, and that's because of the hello color here. And then the second thing is the thumb color, and that is the actual circle, and we've changed that to the primary color of the current project. And then we have the track color. We've set that as green, and this is the track color that the slider runs on. And then we have the tick color. Okay, the tick color, I'm sorry, you can't see the difference because I've changed the track color to green and the tick color to green, so you can see where the tick are, and they do appear. Okay, let me just change the tick color to color primary, and let's run this again. All right, okay, now you can see the difference, right? Now you can see the actual the tick or the dots that appear when you slide over the slider, and the color of those tiny dots have changed following the app tick color that we've just set here, and we've initialized that to the color primary of the project. So this is the kind of customizations that you can do for the slider. That's one type of slider. Another type that you can use, and that's called the range slider. So if we go back to the documentation here, and okay, these are some of the attributes that you can use in the XML for the slider. And let me walk you through the range slider. Okay, so this is the range. So range here, the reason it's called range because it allows you to add multiple slider controls, as you can see in this example here, and that's what we're going to do right now. A simple way. Okay, I'm just looking for the code that I can use in the project, but okay, you know what? Let me just go back to Android Studio. Let me just copy this because it looks something similar to the slider. Copy that and then paste it right here. I'm gonna remove the constraint. I'm going to remove. Okay, second thing, change the slider to range slider, and then this one would be slider range, and the colors would be the same. We'll leave it as it is. Now Android Studio is giving us this error because we need to do some constraint. We need to add some constraint to this slider. This slider will be below the first slider, so the constraint will be to the bottom, and the constraint on top would be to the top of the slider. Give a constraint to the left, constraint to the right, and the error is gone. Okay, let me just reorganize my code here. Alright, so we have the range slider. Now another thing is, make sure that the same thing that we did here, you define the value from and value to in the range slider as well. But another thing that you can, or the only difference that I could say that differentiate the range slider and the normal slider is the range slider has these multiple controllers that you can include them in the app. And to include these sliders, a simple way that you can do that is go to the values here, go to the strings.xml file, and then here define a string array, because that string array actually represents the controls or the circle buttons that you can see on the slider. So it's going to be a string array, and we're just going to call this range slider values, and inside the string array we'll add item. So this item could be, just gonna I want to think of a value, so probably I just follow what we have in the documentation here. So the first one is 20, the other one is 70, so just put 20 here, and then I'm gonna duplicate this same item but change the value to 70. It's as simple as that. We're done with the strings.xml file. Go back to the activity underscore main. To use that, we'll do app and then values, and then you reference that string array. So it should be at string, should be string array, string, oh wait, it's string slash, hey, that's strange, should be, that's the name of the file, name of the slider, so it's range slider values string, hey, that is strange. Okay, let me just double check that in the documentation. It should be values. Where is that? Okay, label. No, that's nope, that's not the one. It should be somewhere around. Okay, let me just step size, values, step size. Nope, we don't want that. We need the values. Okay, so it's array. Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. It's array. So at array. Oh yeah, now we can see that. And I was wondering why it doesn't show up. Alright, so we got that fixed, and it's array and then the range slider values. Okay, that's the only thing that you need to include to be able to have these multiple controllers. So because we've initialized that with 2 items, so that means we'll have 2 selections on the slider, and because right now we've initialized the first item to 20, let's leave the value as 20 as well, and the steps would be 5. Okay, let's leave the rest as it is. Let's take a look at that in the emulator. Alright, so now we have the second slider with 2 controllers, and you can see as I move left or right, it has the same behavior as the first slider. The only difference is we have 2 selections, as you can see right here. It is really cool, right? Okay, that's the customization. Now another thing that I want to show you is how you can add the currency value. So if you go back to the documentation page here, they did show that somewhere, if I'm mistaken. Oh, they didn't. But there is a way to modify the appearance of the label so that you can have currencies as well. Yeah, this is the one. So you can see it says, hey, setting a label formatter. So this is written in Kotlin, but don't worry, I'll show you I can do that in Java. So what we want to do here is we want to show this the $sign in the tooltip, and a simple idea of how you can use this is, for example, let's say you're building a shopping app and you want to allow the user to filter the prices. So what you can do is you build, or you can include this range slider, and you initialize these 2 sliders. For example, the starting value would be the minimum price that you have in your shopping app, and the second slider, or the second selection, would be the maximum price that you have in the in store. That's as simple as that. Now, to include the dollar sign, well, we can include that in the XML file, but we can do it in the Java file. So to do that, make sure you just copy the ID of the range slider, then go to the main activity, because we need to define that here first before we can actually use that. So range slider, for simplicity, we're just going to call it range slider, and we're going to reference that range slider equals to find view by ID r.id, and that is the ID of the slider. Okay, and then we'll do range slider dot set label formatter, and then we'll do new label formatter. All right, so here inside the get formatted value, that's where we're going to change the or format the value, so that we format the tooltip label so that we can include the dollar sign. So if you go back to the documentation here, they're using the number format .get currency instance, and we'll use that as well. So we'll go back to Android Studio here. All right, so inside right now we did range slider dot set label formatter to get the dollar sign to show up inside the tooltip. Next thing here is we need to declare a variable called of a type currency format, so if a type number format, so that would be number format, and we're going to call this currency format equals to that will be get should be number format dot get currency instance, and then we'll do currency format dot set currency, and then we'll do get currency. Let's check the documentation here. Currency dot get instance, currency dot get instance, and inside here we'll initialize that with the dollar sign, and then the final step would be we'll just format that, return the formatted value. So will be currency format dot format what? Format the value, and the value is initially was float, so we're formatting the value right here, and we've included the USD label next to it, so now it should appear inside the emulator. Let's give this a try. Let's see how it looks like. Alright, so build is complete. Now you click on the slider, and you can see we have the dollar sign appear on the tooltip. Alright, so that is this is all done thanks to the label formatter here. So you need to do that to be able to have the this tooltip appear with the dollar sign as well. Alright, another thing that I want to show you is in terms of the color customization. If let's say you want to change this tooltip in terms of the background color, or in terms of the text size, the font, and all that, you can't actually do that in the actual slider view, like what we did for the track or the hello color and all that. You need to create the types of customization, the types of colors inside the styles .xml file right here. You need to create a separate style just for these changes, or for these customizations for the tooltip. So if we go back to the documentation here, if we scroll down a bit, then they have actually provided us with a code, styles code, that we can actually use it in the app. Alright, so these are you can see down here. So here we have is the styles and it says widget.app.tooltip, and that's actually exactly what we want to customize here. Material components tooltip. So here they're changing the text appearance and the background tint, and that is the background color. And they're actually doing another customization to the text appearance as well. Well, for this case, let's copy these two, let's include them inside our styles.xml file. Just want to show you like how this kind of customizations can be applied into the slider. So the background tint color here, because we don't have the color that's called shrine pink, what we can do here is I'm just going to copy the primary dark color. So that would be primary dark. That's copied. For the text color, for this tooltip, or we'll go with the accent color. But you guys can choose different colors based on your taste. And the family font, it could be different font. I think for this one we're just gonna delete that, the font family and all that. You can include that if you want to, but for this one I'm just gonna keep it really simple. So we have the text appearance, and we have the background color, and we have the text color. I think that's enough. Let me just give this a run, and let me show you how it looks like in the emulator. Alright, so let's give this, oops, we're supposed to see the color changes. Oh wait, oh okay, sorry about that. I totally forgot that we need to include that inside the slider as well, because we just created the customization, the style itself, but we didn't reference that inside the actual slider. Alright, sorry about that. To do that, we'll do app, and that would be color. Okay, let me double check in the documentation in terms of the actual attributes here. Style, so it's color, behavior, okay, style, app, label style. I'm just gonna copy this. Okay, for some reasons I'm getting this error. I mean, I'm supposed to get the autocomplete for this, but one thing I want to highlight here is if I copy this, I'm gonna put it on top here. Okay, let me just type that app label style, so you can see we have that in the autocomplete. But if I do it here inside the range slider, I don't get that. It says no suggestion, even though I'm trying to look for the autocomplete, but it doesn't show up. I'm not really sure what is the cause of this, but that's why I had to refer to the documentation so that I can copy the exact code and put it in the slider. So we have the label, and to reference the style, all you have to do is do styles, style, and widget tooltip. Widget app tooltip, that is the name of the style that we have inside the styles.xml file. This is the one. So copy this and paste it right here, and we have the style. Okay, let's give this a run. Build is complete. Let's click. Alright, so you can see the colors have changed for the tooltip background and for the text inside the tooltip. So this is how it looks like thanks to the styles that we've just added inside our project. And this is how we can actually use the sliders and the type of customization that you can do inside the slider. But you're welcome to check out the documentation here and try a few things, play around with it, and please share your feedback in the comment section. I would love to hear what you think, or maybe if you found something new, please share it out. I would love to learn that from you. But this is basically the how the slider is, and how you can do this kind of customizations, and how you can include that in the app. So this is basically it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click on the bell notification to be notified with every time a new video comes into the channel. And make sure if you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. Thank you again so much for watching, and happy coding.